Today is the first episode of the new Palestinian-led women-focused show, presented by me, Hala Hanina. I'm honored to be joined for this first episode by Somaia Abunada, the sister of the poet, the scientist, and the beloved public figure from Gaza, Heba Abunada, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Gaza on the 20th of October 2023. Hiba was not just a voice of Gaza. She was its pulse, its poetry, its strength, and its soul. And for me, she was a dear friend who I admired deeply. Within the genocide, she wrote, "We are up above, building a second city. Doctors without patience or blood. Teachers without overcrowding or student screams. New families without pain or sorrow. Journalists capturing the beauty of the paradise. And poets writing of eternal love. All of them are from Gaza. In the paradise, there is a new Gaza without siege, taking shape now. Through her words, her poetry, and her life, Hiba gifted us the clarity in the chaos and the warmth within the genocide. In today's conversation, we remember her, and we honor the world she carried with her. Dreams deferred, life lost, and future prevented. Somaia, thank you for joining us today. Tell us at the beginning about Hiba. Who was Hiba as a sister, as a woman, a Palestinian woman, as a writer? How was her life in home, and how was her life in Gaza?
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me for this, to talking about Hiba. Well, it's really, I always still say the same thing, like it's really hard to describe Hiba. She was exquisite in all, the aspects in life, as a sister, as a daughter, as a friend, as a writer. Since the first day she was born, like my mom told me, she had this vision that she born a child and the room was full of light. And she didn't mention this vision before, but after she was killed, she was like, yeah, I had this vision. And that the life that Hiba had and provide for us, that vision makes sense for me, because she was the light for all of us in our lives, as a sister, of course, and as a daughter for her. So the first thing that when Hiba was born, my mom held her in her chest, and Hiba tapped on her shoulder, and she was comforting me in that moment. So Hiba was an old sister for all of us, 3 siblings. Since the beginning, we grow up in a working family, my mom and my dad. So she was the one who was taking care of us. She was the second mom of us. She used to make these kind of games, to distract us as children. But she makes sure like these games are really creative. She makes sure like to build these, small castles from pillows and mats, mattresses, and she makes sure to tell us stories that she created. She's been always creating. She doesn't always have this wide imagination inside her. She's creating these stories to tell us, and I've been always found like this story very amusing to me and very too real. I was like, how do you know that? Because she used to tell me, like, I used to watch it in TV, but we have this small TV, we all watch it together, and I have never remembered that. I watched this show before. So I used to sit and listen to her talking about these TV shows, and I was like, how do you know that? I didn't watch them with you. I was like, no, you were in school. I was like, no, I know all the TV shows there. And yeah, and she always makes sure, like, before my mom and dad come from work, like all the house is tidy and we are all together, and just tidying the house and make sure everything is clean. And of course, she was the second hand of my mom. She used to prepare the food before she comes, and like, she's everywhere in the house. And make sure like to pay attention of a smallest detail for us. She always, I have never like recall a situation where she puts herself first. She always put us first. She takes care of us, smallest detail in all events in our lives. She was the greatest sister. And as a writer, Hiba starting her writing, she since she was in the fifth grade, she started writing really small poems, and they are rhymed, some of them, and she's a bookworm, you know.
Yeah.
She's a bookworm. She has like this kind of, you know, mountains of books. Everywhere she goes, she has books, notebooks, everywhere. Like, she likes reading a lot. And she read literature, a lot of novels. She read philosophy, she read religious, she read science articles, physics, everything. She has the best of all worlds in science and knowledge. So she started writing, and her official starting writing started after 2008 when we lost our uncle in 2008 war. Hiba was really attached to my uncle. She loved him a lot, and so she did not. I don't recall she ever wrote about him, and I think she loved him so much she was not able to write about him. That's why she devoted all her time in writing in general, to write about our feelings, our griefs. You know, like you used to watch her Facebook's posts and everything. She knows what is inside us as Palestinians. She knows how to transfer her feelings into words, and she used to do that. But she never talked about him directly because she loved him that much. That's why, like, all her feeling, she created all her masterpiece that she wrote. So. She, when she graduated from Tawjihi, she applied for Arabic language. She had 1 semester in Arabic language where she know more about poetry and poems and everything, and how to write rhythmic poems and a poem and everything like this. She learned the basics and how to write them, and she started writing more well-organized poem. And rhythm it in ones. So this was her beginnings, and she just learned the basics, and she started writing without unstoppable writing. You know, just her journey started there. But yeah, and after that, she felt like no, she's really interested in science. So she made sure to learn. To take this as a major in her field and life and work. So she applied for PA. She studied PA in biochemistry, where after graduation, she worked with high intelligence, high IQ students. She was a science leader for them, where she used to merge, her creativity in arts and everything, and her interest in science together. She used to have this workshop with these kids, and making the science very fun. And at the same time, she kept writing every time, and she also trained a lot of kids and students in in poetry, and writing poems, and in poetry reading and speaking, and. So she devoted all her time between the science and between the art at the same time, and she wrote a lot of them. She was co-writer for 2 published poems collection, which one was Abjadiyat al-Qaid al-Akhir, which was focusing on the life of prisoners in the Israeli occupation jails, and the other one was Sha'ar Gaza, which is a collection of poems for Gazans poets. And in 2017, Hiba participated in a writing competition across the whole Arabic world, and she won the 2nd prize. It was a Sharika competition, And her novel that she participated in was, the name is The Oxygen is Not for Dead. And she won the second prize. And like her will was for me, she wished for me to translate her novel in English. And I started translating it. And I saw the whole process of her writing it. And I read the first draft, and I saw her, how she put her all heart and mind in it. And you know how Hiba is exquisite writer. So I tried, whenever I read, like every time I read the text, whatever she writes in different ways, because you can read it in different ways, because and in different tones. Sometimes I try to read it in her voice because I know how she writes, and sometimes I can read it in the main character voice, and it's really, really something very special. And I'm trying so hard to translate it. It's not easy job, but I'm trying. She has like a very advanced level of Arabic, and she used the very standard Arabic in a very fluent way, in very fluent but simple way to enter our hearts, and all people can understand her writings, and she never failed to surprise us in her writing, never. I can't remember any piece of work she wrote, and I was like, wow, that's really, really distinguished.
True. I agree. And for that reason, I remember that I was always inspired by her writing. She was always able to bring the community together. She was always able to inspire them to think critically and like politically, emotionally, and all of those things. And she was always able to get into our emotions, our way of thinking. And I never understood why. Why do you think she had that ability to reach to the community, to our level as persons?
So Hiba is a intellectual, educated Gazan woman. She grew up in Palestine. She witnessed many aggression on Gaza. She witnessed the loss of many people that she was surrounded with, and she witnessed the culture of Gaza. She worship the sea of Gaza, the sun of Gaza, the small roads of Gaza, the neighborhoods, the neighbors, the small, culture items. She worships everything. She feels like she merged with every atom of Gaza there. She considers herself Gaza, because she loves Gaza that much. And as long as I remember, she always wanted, and she always said, I really want to stay here forever, and I really want to live and die here. She said that continuously. She tried to travel, but every time something held her back, because she loves Gaza that much. So she grew up surrounding with all kind of image of Gaza and the women of Gaza, and the youth of Gaza, and the elderlies and their stories, and my grandfather's story, and my grandparents' stories about Gaza. So like it's in her vein, and she knows it. She knows everything, how we feel, how we suffer, how we think. So she has the talent of words. She knows how to use all her feeling and transfer them into words. So I think because she loved Palestine and Gaza that much, and of course she loved my grandparents' story about our homeland, Beit Jirja. So she grew up in this aspect. She of course, she felt like she has this power to talk about it, and because she knows it, that's why she was able to express more about that.
Well, and it resonates with me because when I heard the news that she was murdered, I got into shock, and I didn't believe, because for me it was like I couldn't imagine Gaza without her. For me, she was Gaza. She felt like Gaza. She talked like Gaza. The smile of Gaza, the spirit of Gaza, the resistance of Gaza, the intellectuality of Gaza. All of that was in Heba herself. So it was totally shocking when I heard the news that she was murdered. I remember on that day when I wrote about and put some videos that she was murdered, I was too shocked because she was the first one I knew well and was murdered in this genocide. So when I wrote about that, someone told me that his uncle was the one who brought her from underneath the rubble, and she was over the praying mat at that time. And this image has never left my imagination. To be killed, Hiba, I couldn't believe she was someone I would never imagine that could be killed, or we could say goodbye for her. She was full of life. She was full of Gaza. So I felt Gaza was murdered on that day. But it was a very difficult day for me, but I can't imagine how it was for you as a family member. I don't know if you can, just talk a little bit of what happened on the 20th of October, 2023.
In the last moment with her, she prayed Al-Maghrib. We all prayed Al-Maghrib, and she put her scarf on. She was always putting, wearing, we are all in Gaza, keep our scarf on in any cases and all the time, every moment. So she put her scarf on, and she made sure her scarf really tight. None of her, hairs appeared, not her neck and everything. She was well dressed, and she was holding her prayer beads in that moment. So I feel like in her last moments, Hiba was really knowing that that was her last day. She was really quiet, and she was really feeling the peace inside her, despite all the bombing around her and the drone sounds and everything. She was really quiet. It feels like she feels like finally she's going to have her inner peace, inner and internal one. So we are all sitting together until in a moment, just seconds. It was already dark. There's no electricity in the house, just a small candle. And suddenly a huge flame just entered the whole room that we were in. And there everything was quiet, so quiet. And in that moment, I actually was waiting. I just was so quiet. I was waiting. I realized, it took me seconds to realize what's going on here. I was I felt trapped. I tried to stretch my hand up in my head to see if I can move or not. I checked my feet, and I checked them. I was I can slightly move my fingers so my foot is not hurt. And I felt really trapped because at that moment I realized, okay, so the house was target. But after a while we realized that it was the next door house. So it was really quiet moment. I think I was just waiting. I was okay, I'm alive. I realized that I'm alive. I'm under the rubble. I just try, to find oxygen or something around me. It was so quiet. I was not screaming, not asking for help. I know, this is it. The most thing that we were all afraid of us to happen, happened in that moment. So, so I was waiting. I felt okay, I'm alive. Maybe they are going to target us with another missile. And so I was waiting. I was okay, that's it. No, that's it. It's happening. Then I suddenly I heard voices around me they were saying ash-shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, okay, this is our last moment. So I felt then I start listening, hearing the voices around me, and I saw flashlights coming from amidst every the smoke from the bombing and everything. And I saw people coming, and they point the flashlight, so I was not completely under the rubble. There was a huge wall on my feet. And I just was quiet, and like a guy come from the neighbors, he was like, everything will be okay, we're just going to remove the rubble. You will be okay, don't panic. I was really just waiting. I was not panicking in that moment. Then they removed some of it was a whole wall in my feet, so they removed it. And I was able just to get out. But I know where Hiba was sitting, and I looked there. There was like a block. And I know that she was there.
Take your time, it's fine.
Okay.
How was the life in Gaza within the genocide, as someone who spent like multiple months there, and then you left from Gaza for your scholarship? So how was also leaving Gaza within the genocide, and how was life outside Gaza at the time where the genocide is still ongoing?
Okay. So we've been always living under wars in Gaza, and whenever there are ceasefire, people have like they can breathe and they can try to normalize life and live wherever like there is a ceasefire. And we all try to build our lives, have our jobs in Gaza before, the last war happened. So the last war happened really fast. Like the last memory of me before the war happened, like with me saying goodbye to my colleague. We were just walking after the war, the work. We finished our work, and we were just walking next to the sea. It was a perfect weather, and we just, Gaza was full of lights, and it was like the most beautiful time I saw Gaza, and I just was walking with her. And we were talking about life and what we want to have next and our future dreams. And it was really very soft, comforting moment. I keep replaying it in my mind a lot because it was really, really soft and really warm for my heart. And the war happened really fast. So at the first moments of war, it was really loud. Everything was really loud. The bombing was really loud. Like, it was unstoppable. Everything, it was very loud. You can't just sleep for a bit, you can't. And it was really continuous, 24/7. It was crazy. It was like someone like really angry of you and tried like just to hit you with everything they have. It was that anger inside them just to hit buildings, to hit everything surrounding by you. Everything was in Gaza shaking. How loud the explosion were. And in a day, there was like, yeah, you have to evacuate now. And in a day, like, you have to hold whatever you have from your memories, from all the years that you lived in your house, to hold them in a small bag and just flee and evacuate your home that you spent your whole life in. And I remember in that moment, like, we are all panicking, like where to go, what to do. Like, this is our house, our house, our shelter, our warm, our like the food, the water, everything was there. How can we live every memory that we have, the laughters, everything, and just pack everything in a small bag and leave? And I remember that moment. I collect like everything that were important. We all have the same thing. We collect our most important papers, our most valuable thing in just a small bag, because we can't carry a lot of things, because we know that we are going to work for a long time. So we carried everything in a small bag, and we just we left the house. I looked back. I looked behind to see the house, to say goodbye to it. And I got this feeling that this is the last time I see my house. And in that moment, I was holding. It feels like you are holding a mountain, and your back, and everyone was having the same mountain of sorrow and disappointing and sadness and fear. We couldn't look at each other's face. We left our houses in that moment unwillingly, and everyone, like, we didn't make eye contact. We were not able, like, to raise our heads and look at each other, like. And when you see, like, they were like rivers of people holding everything, and they have no idea where they are going. Gaza's really small, and like we were thousands just leaving, like in foot, like no cars, no nothing. We are holding like the whole sadness in our chest and backs and walk. I was not able to look at the people's face because their features was speaking so loud, and they were so silent because they knew that they were just living for the unknown there, and unpleasant unknown. And I remember in that moment, Hiba held my hand, and she was like, she held my hand. She was like, "Don't cry," because everything was crazy. Everything was nonsense. Like, you can understand what's going on, but you are leaving everything that you built. So we evacuate, all of us. And in that moment, like, we know that. So I'm not going back to my house again. I'm not ever going to see it. Maybe if I go back, I know, like, for sure it's not going to be as it was. So yeah, you have nothing. We were displaced in that moment. And so we took shelter in my aunt's house, and where, it was the safe zone, that they said that this is the safe zone, that you have to go there. And we believed that. We believed them. So we were like feeling like, okay, this is the safe zone, and they are not going, supposedly we are not going to be targeted. And we are all civilians, women and children. And then like, there was the explosion went like everything happened so fast, where I found myself under the rubble that moment. And then after I was pulled out from the rubble, I found myself literally in the street, barefoot, have nothing in my hand. And now it's like the starlight, the surviving stage, finding the water, finding the food, finding shelter. And nowhere in Gaza was safe, nowhere. And we know it since, like, we were pulled out the rubble. We know it, like, nowhere is safe. And you are just grabbing your feet, trying just to move very slow, just to. And like, you have hundreds of questions, where to go. And like, there is no shelter, there is no safe place there. And I remember, like, trying to just build like a small shelter, because no one was helping there. And we tried to find blankets. We tried to find blankets, so we tried to make a tent in the middle of a street there. And I remember the first day I slept on the sand.
Well,
And I feel like how hard the sand was, and it was like pinching every sense, every place in your body. It was, and there's still the bombing was everywhere, and the small piece of blankets will never protect you from anything. And now, like, the idea of finding water and finding food and using the restroom, there is no bathrooms, like nothing, like there was nothing there. Now you have to build, not to build, to find, because we were not building, we were trying to find, we were trying to survive there. And I remember me standing in a long line just to secure the water, holding this bottle just to fill it from, I believe like it was undrinkable water, but in that moment they were drinkable because they were the only water there. And so that the survivor battle, I forgot, in that moment I forgot I was like pulled out of rubble, because there is no time for you to remember that you went through a huge trauma, a huge thing that will break the most hard rocket in the whole world. And in that moment, there was no chance, and I lost my sister. That was way, 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 way more tiring for me than being pulled out of rubble. But in that time, I remember myself just, I really want to cry, I really want to grieve her, but there is no chance for me. Now it's just a surviving. I have to secure water, I have to secure food. There is no time just to rest, or there is no pillow to put your head on and to rest your head, or to think, or to grieve, or to be sad. And we all had just to turn our feelings. It's like we all just did that to survive, because it's a surviving battle right now. We were surviving the bombing. We were surviving the starvation. We were surviving the cold, the disease, the everything. It was a battle of all aspects. We were fighting there just to survive. And like everything was crazy. Everything was nonsense, because you lived your whole life like as a decent human being with a house, with a roof, with warmth, with laughter, with all good memories, and all that, they vanished. And then you find yourself like just trying so hard, and you can't just even cry or weep. And like in that moment, you will figure out that all the smallest aspects for a decent human being was luxury for us, because we couldn't have the time to think, or the grieving, all of the things that I really want to grieve, and I was not able to. Everything was crazy, and every second was targeting, bombing houses. Every second, like every second, like it was really crazy. And you will see, like, you will hear the ambulance just go crazy just to find the people who survive or not. You will see the crops on the floor all over the places. Like, I saw, like, you will see, like, a lot of people, like, covered with, white sheets, and they are on the floor everywhere. People were panicking. They don't know where to go. And we were surrounded with all this craziness, and, like, trying to find one moment just to grieve, and we couldn't find that. And after that, I was able just to get out the madness, because I got the scholarship to study outside of Gaza. And then I left Gaza. Gaza was, it was this battle inside the battle. Everything was crazy there. And we are tired, all of us. So we were all tired. I remember how tired I am. So once I left Gaza borders, I saw the lights in the roads outside Gaza. And it was electricity, you know, the lights of electricity. And I know, like, I haven't seen the electricity for the 7 months. And the car was, you know, driving us. And it hit me that it was just miles away from Gaza. For all the bloodsheding and insanity, there is a whole world just living their lives like really normally. And it shocked me. Everything was working very normal. Everything was very normal. People, like, lights were everywhere. Their conversations, their speech, everything was very normal. It was like, and I was like, we are miles away. There is a bloodsheding miles away from here, and everything was normal. So it took me almost 4 months just of resting. I remember, like, 4 months of sleeping. I just want to sleep because, like, we are so tired. So all the 4 months I just spent them sleeping. And yet that the war never ends. So I yet, like, I was like, I really want to grieve, but there's no chance for me because everything is still going on now, the bloodshedding and everything there. So, like, I just wanted the whole, you know, noise inside my head of the huge bombing. I just wanted just to calm down for a second. That's why I spent a long time just sleeping to rest. Then I traveled to pursue my master. And so we try. Outside here, like, we try. But the genocide never stopped for a minute. And every time, there a friend, I lose a friend. Every time I open Facebook, I lose a friend. And every time that I lose something inside of me, it's consuming. It keeps consuming. We are tired, and it keeps taking from whatever, like, we have from any lights inside of us. So we try to live our life. I tried, and I tried to. And I'm keep trying here to find life, to live a normal life, and everything outside Gaza is too real for us. It's too real, like, it's too real. Like, this is not our life, you know. And even if we try, you know, to get involved with everything and to find, like, small peace in mind and a friends gathering or hanging out or trying to study or to be occupied with everything, we can't. It is still there. We lost a lot already, and, like, we can't, like, live this normal life anymore. It's not for us. It's too real for us to live it. And
Yeah, I'm so sorry. This is everything that people in Gaza are going through, either inside Gaza or outside. It's unimaginable. This horrendous crimes Israel is committing is something should be preventable. And from that, I remember that Hiba also wrote something around those lines. She said, "This is another age of ignorance." And do you think the world's way of dealing with what's happening in Gaza for the last more than 20 months could be described in this world?
The word is still going there. And what is enough is when this word ends. But I think nothing will be enough to make us feel alive again. but I think the actual support will come whenever this war will end.
I hope so. In one of Heba's poems that's very delicate and soft, she was talking about quotation, "Oh, little light in me, don't die."
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the light that Heba talked about is still alive with us now?
Yeah, of course. So Hiba's work were very known in Gaza. And outside Gaza, many of her followers, they were from all around the world. In the Arabic world, most of them, because she was writing in Arabic language. So she has a lot of followers who admires her work. I think many of them were just looking forward for everything that she writes. They read everything carefully, and I remember like how long her writings and posts since Facebook were very long. And in the comment sessions, and when she was telling me about the comments from the followers of like her friends, they were paying attention for every single word. They analyzed it, and they were like, "Ah, you said that, but this is meaning what do you mean by that?" And I remember many of my friends who were really caring, who were really following her works a lot. They've been like, "Hey, Somaia, your sister posted this. Why she said that? What does she mean? Can you explain? Can you please ask her what she means by that?" And I feel like they're very looking forward. They really want to know. They were very interested. They look for her works out something really special for them because it reflects their feelings. And many of her followers were female, and she was talking about, female voices, Palestinian females, Muslim female voices. Yeah, she was really concentrated to talk about her right as a female, as a woman, and she used her work to empowering the female voices. So yeah, and after she was killed, many of her poems were translated into English language, and where like more people know about her works, and some of her works were translated in Japanese and Chinese and Italian, and like her work really spread wide, and many people start to recognize like how great writer she is, even if they weren't translated into English and other languages. Still, like her words, really remarkable for all people. Heba's writing was, very touching, very powerful. Her words, like she knows what she's talking about. She has a purpose in her work, in her words, and she delivered that for all people just to listen. And everyone was listening whenever she talks. And even in her normal life, she was going through a lot of conversations, a lot of debates. She's really a very well-known, educated woman. Like she can go through any kind of conversation without you feeling bored about her words, because she organized every word to be said in this way, to me in this way. She was really intellectual. And Hiba's novel, The Oxygen Is Not for Dead, all the people that they read her novels were very astonished of how strong the novel was, and how massive her imagination is, because the plot, the climax, even the characters, all of them are really well written in a neat way. And of course, like everyone who reads, like they were very invested in her writing. And they want to know what is going to happen at the end. And they were all, surprised by the end of her novel, how it ended. Her novel, The Oxygen is Not for Dead, it was a reflection of the Palestinian case and the Arab uprising, Spring uprising. And she was talking about the occupation, reflecting what happened for Palestinians, and she was focusing in that in very intelligent way that grabs the reader's attention. So as I mentioned, like, her wish was for me to translate it in English because I'm her only sister. So she wanted me to translate it. She always was supporting for me. So the first supporter in my life, because she's the big sister for me. She always support me, and she wanted me to be part of her works. She asked me to translate her words, and every time I read her novel, I discover more things, more new words, and I have sometimes to Google these words. I was like, what does she mean? I know, like, Arabic is my first language, but her Arabic language is very standard and strong and very, very elegant. And I keep telling myself, how can I translate this masterpiece and keeping the whole core as it is? I really want the people to know, to touch, to feel like how strong her words are. So I'm going to write some of
yeah, please,
like just the first one of the pages, or just a short quote in Arabic language. So she says in her book, I'm going to speak in the original text. She says, نظرت إلي حملقت في طويلا وكأنني انعكست على نفسي وتجسدت أمامي ووقفت في مواجهتي ناديت علي فلم أرد صرخت علي فلم أتحرك هززتني فلم أعرني انتباها سقط ظلي علي تمدد السواد وأنا أستنجي به وأمد يدي إلي فلا ألتقطها حاولت الخروج مني فتابعت الغرق في حاولت التمسك بي فانفلت مني تنفستني فانخنقت بي سألتني من أنا فلم أجبني. And this text reflects, an inner speech for the main character, Adam. He was talking about himself and, like, who am I in this stage, and all this kind of confusion, thoughts in his mind, and he trying to find a lot of answers for a lot of things, because he was, like, working in very sensitive case during his work as an intelligent.
This is a very powerful poem, and she was always able to describe the contrast in everyone's feeling, and in a very beautiful and soft way. What do you think now, with the people, or the poems, the words of Hiba are getting out to the people, and more people are knowing it? What do you feel about that? And what do you wish for Hiba's words?
So, like many people really looking forward for her words. They've been always waiting for her words and her poems and everything that she's writing. And that's stopped when she was killed. But Hiba has a lot of, published works, but they are on social media. And some of them are written here and there, and they are not really actually collected. And I believe she always wanted to have her own collection of poems with her name on them. So she has a lot of them. I'm trying to collect all her works, but there are a lot and everywhere. And I really wish to some point to be able to collect her work in one collection poems and collection book for her poems. And also I really want for her novel to get translated and published in a very decent place and agency. So yeah.
Yeah, and she totally deserves that.
Yeah, thank you.
I remember Hiba was always talking about traveling, and she always wished to travel. And I remember in many times because of the siege on Gaza, the blockade and all of that, she wasn't able to travel. Although she loved Gaza a lot and she always wanted to live in it and to go back to it, but she wanted to see the world. So what was her imagination of the world? What did she say that she wished to see or to try outside Gaza?
Yeah, so Hiba, yes, she's been reading. She's a bookworm. She has all the knowledge from the books about how this whole world looked like from inside, outside. But she never was outside the Gaza wall. She has the idea of how the world is outside the Gaza, but she's never been there. And as someone who's really hungry for knowledge, she really wanted to gain this knowledge from the sources of this knowledge. But she tried many times to travel, but unfortunately Gaza was under siege and is still under siege. So every time there was abstract, like a prevent her from traveling outside. And she did not make it outside Gaza, but she been always dreaming to travel outside. And so there's an anime that we watch, me and her, and it calls Attack on Titan. We are both we're obsessed with it. We still are still. And so in this anime, it talks about a group of very special people. They were inside the walls, the whole world, like block them inside the walls because they have this, supernatural power. And these people, the main characters in this anime, they grow up knowing nothing about this world because they've been always was seeing the world as walls. They don't know like what's outside, what's behind these walls. And we were always talking about the same thing. Like we know what these characters know and feeling about it because they have this whole question. So what's outside these walls? And they know they have some books with the oceans and the tall buildings and the mountains. And we've been always connected to this anyway because we feel like we have the same thing there. And so Hiba's perspective about world was just through the books she's reading. And she didn't make it to see what's outside these walls. So.
Unfortunately, at least I'm happy that her words is seeking the world now and reaching everywhere, and I hope it would reach more.
Yeah.
I was reading your writing in commemoration of Hiba and remembering her, and you wrote, "I try to talk to you whenever I see a butterfly, a flower, a sunset, and a sunrise." And you go on. It's such a profound way to describe someone and their memory. Could you tell us more about what reminds you of Hiba?
Well, yeah. Everything reminds me, but I like she's always here. She's always with me, always. Like always, whenever I wake up, before I sleep, in my dreams, she's always with me. She was a huge part of it. She was the closest person in my heart. And yeah, and we shared a lot of things together. Like we shared the room together. She was, my sister. We shared the same room. We know how we think. We know how our lifestyle. We know what we like, what we hate, like, and we know we always used to do, a lot of activities together. In Eids, we used to hang out together a lot. So, and she was my best friend, and whenever I go through something, even in the war, like after I lost her, I was like, she's my big sister. She was my old sister, and I was like, I was always counting on her in everything. So, and every time we have these obstacles, And we have this challenge, every time we have these challenges, like finding something, or I see something that's really crazy or really beautiful, I always talk to her. But every time I have the urge, like, where is she right now? I really want to talk to her about this. Because we will share everything together. So, yeah, she is. And she is a delight, you know. She's the light. She's the comforting, like, to us. And to me, she's the support. She's the first hand she was the first one who held my hand to the kindergarten. And she was the one who told me about Palestine and who we are as Palestinians. And she's my mentor, my sister, my friend, my soulmate, my everything. Of course, I remember her in any aspect, every aspect. I see her and I really want to talk to her every time.
Do you think Hiba's life, everything she went through, everything that she has done, and also her murder, portrays in a way the life of Palestinian women and their resistance?
Sorry.
Do you think the life of Hiba, her life, her struggles, and everything she went through, and also how she was murdered, does that resemble or portray the image of Palestinian women resisting under the occupation and the genocide?
Yeah, of course I believe that, because Hiba was always the voice of Palestinian and always was the voice of Palestinian women especially. And she had the talent of words, and she used them as a mean for her to express herself as a Palestinian and express herself as an intellectual, strong woman, and she was like that. So I believe, and I believe many people will say the same thing. I believe Hiba was a symbol of the strong, educated Palestinian woman. So yes, I believe Hiba was the symbol of strong, powerful Palestinian woman who will always advocate for Palestinians and for Palestinian women especially.
And that's why we need to carry on with her message and with everything she has been doing. So what do you think the message or what Hiba wanted from us to do as people outside Gaza, as people who loved her and still love her, and people who loves her writings, her words and everything? What should we be doing now?
So Hiba always believed in how powerful words are. And I think she will always want us to keep believing in Palestine, in our case as Palestinian. She wants us to keep worshiping Palestine, keep talking about Palestine, keep talking about the Palestinian mothers, Palestinian brothers, fathers, grandfathers, and every aspect about Palestine. She wants us to keep reviving the Palestinian image, our Palestine map, with all the Palestinians, villages and cities. She wants us to keep talking about our map as it was, and the picture of Palestine as she will always want it to be.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Somaia, for bringing Hiba's soul with us today. And thank you for helping to bring her story, her life, her laughter, and her struggles to the world to be known, because it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to know them. It's our responsibility to stop dehumanizing Palestinians and stop reducing them to statistics, because they have lives. They have lives in expanding to the world, or as Hiba was describing it, as a galaxy. So we must do our best so Palestinians are known, remembered, and always fought for. I would like to end with something also Hiba wrote. She wrote it on the 20th of October 2023, so on the same day she was murdered. And it goes as this. In Gaza, we are with God, either as martyrs or as witnesses to the liberation. And all of us are waiting to see which we will be. We're all waiting. Oh Allah, your promise is true. And I believe Hiba was true to herself and to the world. Although she's now, hopefully, with God as a martyr, she's also witnessing the liberation of Palestine. And for that to happen, we all have to keep fighting until Palestine is free.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.